Om Namo Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayat. Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namo Pankajanaභaya Namo Pankajamalini Namo Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangri. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 9, verses 21 to 29. The Lord incarnates as Mohini Murthy. Text 21. Taking the container of nectar in her hands, she first approached the demons, satisfied them with sweet words, and thus cheated them of their share of the nectar. Then she administered the nectar to the demigods who were sitting at a distant place, to make them free from invalidity, old age, and death. Text 22. O king, since the demons have promised to accept whatever the woman did, whether just or unjust, now to keep this promise, to show their equilibrium, and to save themselves from fighting with the woman, they remain silent. Text 23. The demons had developed affection for Mohini Murthy and a kind of faith in her, and they were afraid of disturbing their relationship. Therefore, they showed respect and honor to her words, and did not say anything that might disturb their friendship with her. Text 24. Rahu, the demons who cause eclipse of the sun and the moon, covered himself with the dress of the demigods and thus entered the assembly of the demigods and drank nectar without being detected by anyone, even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The moon and the sun, however, because of the permanent animosity towards Rahu, understood the situation. Thus, Rahu was detected. Text 25. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, using disc, which was sharp like a razor, at once cut off Rahu's head. When Rahu's head was severed from his body, the body being untouched by the nectar could not survive. Text 26. Rahu's head, however, having been touched by the nectar, became immortal. Thus, Lord Brahma accepted Rahu's head as one of the planets. Since Rahu is an eternal enemy of the moon and the sun, he always tries to attack them on the nights of the full moon and the dark moon. Text 27. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the best friend and well-wisher of the three worlds. Thus, when the demigods had almost finished drinking the nectar, the Lord, in the presence of all the demons, disclosed his original form. Text 28. The place, the time, the cause, the purpose, the activities of the ambition were all the same for both the demigods and the demons. But the demigods achieved one result and the demons another. Because the demigods are always under the shelter of the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, they could not very easily drink the nectar and get its results. The demons, however, not having sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, were unable to achieve the results they desired. Text 29. In human society, there are various activities performed for the protections of one's wealth and life by one's words, one's mind, and one's action. But they are all performed for one's personal and extended sense gratification with reference to the body. All these activities are baffled because of being separated from devotional service. But when the same activities are performed for the satisfaction of the Lord, the beneficial results are distributed to everyone, just as water poured on the roots of the tree is distributed throughout the entire tree. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 9, entitled The Lord Incarnates as Mohini Murthy. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Swami Gopi Mataji, for reading our translations today. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining this Monday morning to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 8, Chapter 9, text 21 to 29. I'll start by offering my prayers. Om Akyantimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate kirim yatkripatam vande Shri Gurudim Taranam. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, just to summarize, we are at the end of chapter 9 in Canto 8, and we're discussing the pastime of Mohini Murti. So, in the previous session, His Grace Nandan Prabhu had wonderfully described some of the good learning points from the discussion so far in this particular Leela. So we have seen how this section of the canto begins when the demigods and demons come together to churn the ocean of nectar. And throughout this whole process of trying to obtain nectar, we see how they're dependent on Lord in each and every step. Even though they're the most powerful created beings in this universe, in this material universe, they're still not able to accomplish even one part of the task on their own. So the Lord either has to help them through holding the mountain from the top, through holding the mountain, putting the mountain as a base, but in different forms, the Lord, they are dependent on the mercies of the Lord, the demigods and the asuras. Then finally, when Sri Dhanvantari approaches with the pot of nectar. Then there is a fight that ensues, and the demons they snatch the pot, and then they fight amongst themselves as well. So, in order to ensure that the devotees get the nectar, the Lord incarnates as Mohini Murti. And some of the things that His Krishna Prabhu had shared from the previous discussion, some learning points. We had seen how the demons they were outwardly so nice when they were in their discussions and their interaction with Mohini Murti, but inward they were having bearing so much malice and tendency to enjoy. But outward they appeared like they wanted to serve and please her. They also shows that how they were so bewildered by the external energy of the Lord. We see this is the power of the Mahamaya. And we also understood that it seems that although in this particular pastime, the Lord is appearing as a cheater, he's cheating, but there is a difference between cheating by the Lord and cheating by the living entity. The concept of absolute morality should be given up, but the concept of conditional morality should be understood. That everything has its place according to time and circumstance. So, in this particular way, we understand that even this wonderful leela of cheating by the Lord is fully auspicious. So continuing with that theme, we start with text 21. So now Mohini Murti, she has taken that container of nectar in her hands. Daityan Grihito Kalasho. So the kalash of this nectar she has taken away from the Daityas. And uh, she approaches first the demons and satisfied them with words. Instead of giving them the nectar that they've been doing this whole big endeavor for, this is the conclusion of the endeavors. Everybody started with this goal of achieving this nectar. Now, instead, when the nectar is here, instead of offering them nectar, she's offering them sweet words. And in that process, she's cheating. So the word from the shloka is Vanchayan Upashanchare. That means she's cheating them by giving them words, but instead of not giving them the nectar. And what is she doing? She's administering the nectar to the demigods who are sitting at a distant place, although in front of them, to make them free from invalidity, old age, and death. Jara Mrityu Haram Sudham. So she's giving them that liquid, that nectar, which makes one free from Jara and Mrityu. So, in this particular purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes on this phrase vanchayan upashancharahi. That the Lord, he's cheating the demigod, the demons by just giving the sweet words. So it is seen that actually that's our Lord, and we know is the master cheater. He's the supreme cheater. When he wants to cheat, there's nothing anybody can do from him. But his cheating is not like the cheating that's there in this material world. So normally in this material world, when somebody cheats, it's a very inauspicious activity. It's considered as an immoral act. And usually, because of that activity of cheating, although that person who is the cheater may temporarily benefit, but it creates inauspiciousness around. Anytime you hear about it, you don't feel nice. You feel sorry about that situation. The person who's being cheated, that person goes through so much trauma and suffering. But that is not the cheating that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exhibits. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead cheats, when we see his wonderful pastimes as the butter thief in Vrindavan, when he cheats, it is all auspicious for everybody. The persons who are being cheated, the gopis, they feel so joyous in their heart that they pray that Krishna, please come again and again to steal the butter from our house. And when the listeners, when the audience, when we hear about these wonderful pastimes, we become so enamored and so much attracted to the Lord by hearing about his cheating pastimes. And by engaging in this wonderful dealings with the devotees, the Lord himself gets so much pleasure. So the Lord's cheating is all auspicious and creates auspiciousness everywhere around him. But the cheating that's there from this material world is inauspicious for everybody. Now, people in this world think that we can cheat, and we are better cheaters. Hiranyakashipu also had a plan to cheat death. He wanted, if he couldn't get immortality directly, he wanted to approach immortality indirectly, and he would cheat death. And he made this extensive plan and asked for so many different kinds of boons from Lord Brahma. But he doesn't understand that he's trying to cheat the supreme cheater. So even though he made all his calculations of becoming immortal, the Lord appeared in such a unique form as Sri Narsingadev that this was the form of a cheater, because we've never seen this form before. It's never exists in normal. It's not there in the normal species of life created by the Lord. But in order to cheat Hiranyakashipu and show that he cannot escape death, the Lord appears in that form. So oftentimes we should understand that sometimes when we are doing our devotional practices, we think that sometimes we can get away with things. Sometimes when we are chanting, we try to do our rounds quickly, or we try to say, okay, I'm going to multitask and do things, and talking about myself. But we should understand that we cannot cheat the Lord. If we try to do that even in our devotional practices, the Lord will cheat us, and He will not give us the true taste of the holy name. He will not be present and dancing, as wonderfully described by Sri Rupa Goswami on our tongue, and we will not be able to nourish the true nectar of the holy name. But we will be cheating because we are trying to cheat the Lord. But we should understand that Lord is the supreme cheater. But in this particular way, in the form of Mohini Murti, the Lord in front of the demons is distributing nectar to the demigods. It's like daylight robbery in front of them. In text 22, it says that, O king, since the demons had promised to accept whatever the woman did, whether just or unjust, now to keep this promise, they show their equilibrium and do not fight with the woman. So in text 13, they had told the Mohini Murti had laid a condition that I'll accept the nectar and I'll distribute it, but you have to agree to whatever I do. And because they agreed to that, now they are keeping quiet. So we read this that when I read this, what I understood was that the demons, or all of us, we're bound by our senses. Oftentimes, we are bound by our bad habits or by anarthas or some certain samskaras that we've acquired life after life after life. So many times when we are faced with particular predicaments or particular bad habits, sometimes we say, "Oh, what can I do? This is how I am." You know. Sometimes we give up very easily in when we're faced with troublesome situations, or at least in fighting our bad habits. Sometimes, I see people who are, very habituated to drinking tea and coffee. A lot of times, they're very favorable to devotees. But when we talk about giving up these habits, they always feel, oh, what can I do? So we should understand that actually it's not that difficult when we take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to give up anarthas and give up bad habits. It was a wonderful story to explain this point. So once upon a time there was a circus, and in the circus there were many different animals which were kept in a tent. But all of a sudden, unfortunately, one night there was a big fire in the tent. So when the big fire happened, all the animals started escaping. They started, whatever they could to save their lives. They escaped from the tent. But there was one animal that couldn't escape and got caught in the fire. And that one animal happened to be the strongest elephant in the circus. So then everybody inquired what happened. How come the elephant did not escape? The monkeys who were tied by chains, somehow they managed to slip out of the chains because they were desperate to save their lives from the fire. The other animals which were in cages, somehow they were able to break open the cages and escape the fire. Everybody was able to save themselves from that situation. But the elephant, being so powerful, could not escape from that situation. What is the reason of that? They inquired. And even the circus owners were baffled. They said, and everybody asked him, what did you tie the elephant to? Like, how was the elephant secured that he could not, escape the bondage? And the owners was baffled. They said, this elephant is only tied to an old rope, old flimsy old rope. And, so he could have easily escaped from the fire, from the tent, but he could not. Like, everybody is baffled. So he actually goes on to explain that how the elephants were tied by just simple ropes. So what they would normally do is when the elephants were young and used to grow up, their legs used to be tied with heavy chains. So anytime they used to tug on the chains or pull on the chains, their legs would hurt and develop and start bleeding and develop sores. So anytime anything was tied to their chain to their feet, the elephant felt that, okay, I cannot do anything more beyond that because now I'm tied down. So even when the fire was raging and all the animals were trying to escape and they managed to escape, the elephant could not make any effort because it thought, I'm tied down with a rope. This is all I can do. What can I do in this situation? And eventually it gave up to it. So similarly, when we are faced with so many, bad habits, so many shortcomings. And sometimes in devotional practices, we face all these challenges. Sometimes we may think, oh, what can I do? But instead of this, Vallabhacharya, he gives this wonderful analogy. Shri Haripasha Prabhu was discussing in a class that whenever we're faced with predicaments in our life, material or spiritual, we should always remember three things. First, wisdom or vivek. Second, patience, dharya. Third, surrender or sharnagati. If we can in any difficult situation of life, we can just close our eyes, fold our hands, and pray, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, or what we say in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, Tava Asmi, that Krishna, I am yours. In any situation, if we can think like that and we can pray to the Lord like that, immediately the Lord will enable us to or empower us to get out of that situation, whatever troublesome situation is. So as long as we have wisdom, we understand that the Lord is our supreme shelter, and we have patience, dharya. We don't react to that situation. We reflect on that situation. And with the wisdom and with the patience, we ultimately surrender to the Lord. That Lord, I am completely under your shelter. You may do as you please. The Lord will get us out of that particular situation. So, in this particular way, we see that although the demons they realize what is happening is wrong, but because they were bound to the birds, they could not do anything. So similarly, although sometimes we may be going through some things and some habits, but we should never say, "Oh, what can I do?" We should always remember what Krishna can do for us. In text 23, so in Mohini Murti, she showed respect and honor to the demons and did not that's why the demons also showed respect and honor to her and did not say anything that might disturb their friendship with her. So oftentimes in material world, people come and say such things and they may glorify you and they may praise you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has any meaning to it or it has any content in it. This one particular time, this one devotee had shared a story that one beggar goes to a village and he asks around the village that who is the most charitable person in the village. So a few people tell him, oh, this merchant is there, and he's very charitable. Anybody comes and asks for something, he gives them more than what they ask. So he says, okay, I'm going to find this person out and I'm going to get as much from him as possible. So he finds out and he goes to the house and he sees the merchant is sitting at the doorstep. So he goes there. So he develops a strategy of how he's going to get maximum donation from him. So he starts praising him. Oh, sir, I have heard that you are the most charitable person in this village, and you are such a wonderful person, and you have such a nice family. So hearing this, the merchant gets pleased, and and he knows that he's never seen this individual before. So he realizes that some of what he's saying is untrue. Um, but in order to please him, he says he calls out to his servant at home, saying, "Oh, please bring a bag of rice outside." So this beggar, he becomes excited. He thinks, "Oh, I'm going to get a bag of rice." So then he praises the merchant more. Oh, sir, I have traveled throughout this country. I've never seen anybody who's more merciful than you. And you are so compassionate and you do this and that. And then the merchant also becomes pleased and he says, oh, also bring one bag of atta. He calls out to his servant from inside. Like this, the beggar goes on praising the merchant. And the merchant goes on saying, okay, bring this, bring that. So then the beggar is waiting outside. He waits 5 minutes, 10 minutes, becomes half an hour, and nothing is coming out. All the articles that the merchant asked for is not coming out. So then he approaches the merchant, says, "Oh, sir, I met you and I praised you, and you asked for so many different articles, and I thought I'm going to get all that. So where are they? I'm still waiting for them." The merchant said, "Oh, no, no, no. It's not that they are coming. I was just saying like this because you're saying all these things which are not true to make me feel good. So I was also saying all these things, bring this, bring that, just to make you feel good. But don't worry, there's nothing coming." So that person realizes that, oh, this is just false praise. So in this particular way, but we should also realize that we can also use this quality in a good way when we are preaching to understand what is good in the other person and to show respect and honor to them. Because once we show respect and honor to anybody, we can truly win their hearts and they can open their hearts and minds to listen to what we have to say to them, especially Srila Prabhupada's words. So in this particular way, this pastime continues. Mohini Murti is distributing the nectar to the demigods, and the demons are just sitting and watching the situation, unable to react to that. But however, one of the demons, Rahu, he understood that, oh, this is the plan by the Supreme Lord, that ultimately we are not going to get the nectar. Because so far, um, what Mohini Murti had told the demons is that these demigods, they are very restless, they're very childish. You guys are mature heroes, so you have patience, so you wait. And this childish demigods, let me give them first, so that at least they will be satisfied, and then I can properly serve you. But Rahu understood that actually the plan is that the demons are not going to get any nectar at all. So he changes his appearance to appear as a demigod and goes and sits among the lines of the demigods. Now the question is asked that how come Lord did not understand that Rahu is able to do this, and how did Lord offer nectar to Rahu? So it is said that the Lord wanted to show the potency of this nectar. This whole plan that was developed about churning the milk ocean so that the nectar can come, this ambrosial liquid can come, that will benefit everybody. If the demigods didn't drink it completely and then they become powerful, one might say that yes, maybe it's because of the nectar, but maybe because of some other things also that the demigods have become powerful. But the Lord wanted to show now that this nectar itself is so potent that as soon as Rahu drinks the nectar, and before it can travel down his neck into his stomach, the Lord uses his disc and immediately cuts off the head of Rahu. So when Rahu's head was severed from the body doesn't survive, but the head survives. That is clear proof or to depict how powerful the nectar was, that the Rahu's head could survive. But we see that the sun and the moon, they immediately recognize that Rahu, being the natural enemy, was changed the form. So they raise the alarm, and that's how the law, Supreme Law, severes the head of Rahu. Um, because his head had become immortal, Lord Brahma then accepts Rahu as one of the planets. And that is how we see the eclipse that happens in our world, is when Rahu attacks the sun or the moon. Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's the well-wisher of all three worlds. So after the demigods had finished drinking nectar, he breaks the spell and discloses his original form in front of everybody. So what do we learn? So the last two shlokas, text 28, 29, teaches us what we really learn from this particular Leela of Mohini Murti. So in this particular verse, it is said, Evam Surasura Ganaha Samadesha Kala Hetva Artha Karma Matayo. Means the Sura and Asura, both the classes of men, they were in the same Samadesha, same place, same Kal, same, and they were trying to achieve the same result, Artha Karma Matayo. But even though they were trying to achieve the same result, the demons and demigods, we all know who got the nectar. The demigods were able to achieve the nectar. But the demons who were in this process for their own sense gratification, their efforts were all failed. And how could the demigods achieve the nectar? Tatra Amritam Suragana Phalam Anjasipur. How did the demigods achieve the nectar? Yat Pada Pankaja Raja Shayanam Na Daitya. By taking the dust or remembering the dust of the lotus feet, Pada Pankaja Raja of the Supreme Personality of God. They could very easily drink the nectar and get its result. The demons, however, not having sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, were unable to achieve the result they desired. So, in this purport to this wonderful verse, I would recommend everybody, if you have time, to read the purport to text 28 today. Srila Prabhupada describes very elaborately that the karmis and bhaktas, they sometimes work in the same situation. They may wear the same dress, they may be at the office in the same time, but because their consciousness is different, the results are different. And when Prabhupada talks about the results, it is interesting. He doesn't talk about the results, the material conclusion of how much profit you earned for the company, or what was the result of the treatment you provided to the patient, or what how much profits you made in the particular quarter. But he's talking about the state of mind that one achieves after doing a particular task. That although externally many karmis may also act as devotees, but you have to understand that a devotee is always very pleasing and always very satisfied and peaceful. If a person becomes easily agitated by a particular task, then we should realize that our bhakti is primarily mixed with karma, and we're doing a little bit bhakti. But when we do bhakti mishra karma, when we do bhakti, and in order to facilitate the bhakti, we do a little bit karma. We're not easily frustrated by our efforts. In one particular nice lecture, His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was explaining this concept of the difference that or different attitudes that people have towards the higher power, or towards what we understand the concept of dharma or our duty. There are two things in basis of which we can understand people and their approach to different things. So one is faith and one is intelligence. So the devotees, the ones who are situated in Shuddha Sattva, when they do a particular task, they do it to the best of their ability. They use their full intelligence to do the task. But at the same time, they have the faith that the results of the task are not in my hand. The results of the task are going to be delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And whatever He desires is whatever is best for me, He will deliver that to me. Tattenu kampa susumakshamana, that the Lord will deliver His mercy to me in each and every situation. Sometimes it may appear pleasing, sometimes may appear displeasing, but I'll be satisfied with that result. So when faith and intelligence are both employed, then a devotee becomes always hopeful. But when we use a lot of intelligence, our efforts in achieving a particular task, but we have no faith on the higher power, we have no understanding that there is a plan behind it, then we become easily frustrated. And that frustration is, you can see in the people who are in the mode of passion, that they don't have any faith in the higher power, but they have faith in their own abilities. When we have faith, when we become, spiritually conscious, and we understand that there is a higher power, when we have faith in that, but we don't use our own intelligence, we don't use our own hard work, we don't work hard for it to please the Lord, but we just think, oh, Lord is there, everything will happen nice. No, in that particular situation, one becomes careless. So even though one has faith, one has to employ his own intelligence and hard work in the service of the Lord. And we should not become careless. And the last situation is the people for the mode of ignorance. They neither have faith, and they're so lazy that they won't use their intelligence or hard work. So those people become hopeless. So there's people who are hopeful, the devotees, people who are frustrated, they're the people in mode of passion, people who are hopeless, the mode of ignorance. And sometimes, even though we are devotees and may have faith, if we do not perform our duties, then we become careless. So, in this particular way, we see that the demigods, in this whole episode of churning the milk ocean, they had tremendous faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they executed their duties wonderfully. And as a result, by remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, they were able to achieve the result of drinking the nectar. Um, in text 29, the last verse for the day, it goes on to say that one, in human society, we always think of so many different activities we do for the protection of our wealth, life, mind, and action. And they're all for sense gratification, either for our own body or for our extended sense gratification for our family, for our society, for our country. However, all these activities are easily baffled. Um, and they do not achieve the desired result because they are not being done for the pleasure of Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, if a devotee does whatever he does, dedicates it into the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can easily achieve the desired result, not just him, but his family, his society, his country. Everybody can derive the result just by pleasing Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Prabhupada quotes this common example that when we offer water to the root of the tree, immediately the entire plant, the entire universe is nourished by that particular act. So, in this particular way, when we try to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead and adopt the mindset of a demigod or a devotee, we will be successful in our endeavors one way or the other. But if we are selfish, thinking of only what's immediately benefit to me or my family in that particular endeavor, we will never be successful, just like the demigods were deprived of the nectar. Sorry, just like the demons were deprived of the nectar. In this way, we'll end our discussion today. Thank you, everybody. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Much Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I like your all stories.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.